Hi, boys and girls. This video is 4-5 practice problems, part A. Okay, so you're going to be working in your workbook. I have had to add some extra examples because the reveal doesn't have a whole lot of examples. I just kind of give you one and assume you've got it. And I don't want to make that assumption. We're going to be starting in your workbook on page 235. Right? First of all, they're going to ask you to identify the slope and the y-intercept of the graph of each equation. So what you've got to remember here, let me switch to pen. What you've got to remember here is that we're looking at equations that are written in the form y equals mx plus b, where m is the slope and b is the y-intercept. Okay, so when you look at this equation here, they want to know what the slope is. Well, the slope of this line is the number that's in front of the x. What number is in front of the x? 1/2. So the slope of that line is 1/2. What is the y-intercept? The y-intercept is the number that comes after the x term. Since it's -5, the y-intercept is -5. If it had been +5, the y-intercept would have been a +5. Over here, the slope is the number in front of the x, 3. The y-intercept is this number out here, -1. Now this one here is an oddity. Y equals -1. Why is there no x term? The reason there's no x term is because what really is happening here is we have y equals 0x minus 1, okay? If you only have y equals a number, that means that your x term has been eliminated because it was multiplied with a 0. What kind of a line has a 0 slope? Remember slope, dude. Puff, puff, positive. Nice, negative. 0, fun. Undefined. 0, fun is a horizontal line. So this line here is horizontal. If we were going to graph this line on an XY grid, it would be a horizontal line where x is -1, like right here. Okay. Or I mean where y is -1. Sorry, I said x, didn't I? No, sorry, it's been a long day. So where this is your y-axis, and it says y equals -1, so you find -1 on the y-axis and you draw your line. Okay, so when I ask for the slope of this line, you will have to tell me that the slope of this line is 0. And then the y-intercept is, where does it cross y? Well, it's going to cross y at -1. I didn't put any of these on the practice or the test. I just didn't want to introduce that one to you. It's kind of an oddity. You'll likely see it in high school, and I don't want it to be the first time you see it. This one you will see on a quiz or a practice. This one has an x term, but you'll notice it's missing a y-intercept. When an equation is missing a y-intercept, that's because the y-intercept is 0. And in math, we don't write +0 if it's not necessary. So on this one, the slope is 5/3, the number in front of the x, and the y-intercept is 0. That means it will cross the, but it's +5/3, so that means it's going to go right through the origin. Okay. All right. And this one is just a regular old one. This one has a slope of 1/3 and a y-intercept of -2. Intercept -2. Okay. So not too bad. You just need to remember this format here. And remember that the slope is the number in front of x, and the y-intercept is this one. Okay. The other thing we ask you to do in part A is we will give you the slope and the y-intercept and ask you to write the equation. Okay. So in number 3, this is still on page 235. Number 3, they're telling you the slope is -3 and the y-intercept is 4. Notice this is a +4. Okay. If it were negative, they'd have a negative sign. So the equation always starts off with y equals, and now it's ready for the x term. Here's the standard form, y equals mx plus b. Okay, this is kind of like our last section. In our last section, we only had this part. We didn't have a y-intercept. That's because all of those equations went through 0, 0. And that's why there was no number here. But now these equations are not all going to go through 0, 0. These are going to be different. And that's why the y-intercept changes. If the y-intercept was 0, it goes through the origin. But these do not. Okay, I stray. The first term after the equal sign is your x term, and you put the slope number, -1/3, x, just like you did in the last unit. Now different in this unit, though, you now have a y-intercept. The y-intercept is +4, so you put +4. Okay. Let's do number 4. We always start with y equals, then we write the slope number, 3/2. Then we write our x, and if you forget to put that x in, Reveal will mark you wrong. And then the y-intercept is in -3, so we put -3. Here, y equals, now we're ready to write the slope number. Then we write x, y-intercept is -2, so we put -2. Now here the slope is -1. In general, in mathematics, we don't write -1x, we would just write -x. I would not mark you wrong for -1x, but really the better form of this is just -x. The y-intercept is +6, so we write +6. So this is good, it's correct, this is better, it's neater. So down here, I gave you the 2 oddballs. I gave you a vertical line and a horizontal line. Here we have a slope of 0, okay? So that means that what we're writing is y equals 0x, and the y-intercept is -5, -5. But you know that no matter what x is, it's going to end up being 0. So we drop that, and we just put y equals -5. Whenever you have an equation that only has one letter, it's either horizontal or vertical. This one is a horizontal line, which makes sense because it had a slope of 0. A horizontal line at the point where y is -5. So it would be like down here, horizontal line through -5. Okay. Over here, we have an undefined slope, and we have an x-intercept of 2. What that means is this equation is going to say x equals 2. There is no y. Okay, there's no y because this is a vertical line, and it won't hit y. It's going to only, like here's 1, 2, it's going to go right through here, and it's going to be a vertical line. Okay, just like that. So this is a vertical line, the form of a vertical line. This is the form of a horizontal line. Will I put those on a test or a quiz? No, I will not. I just want you to know that they can happen. Okay. Now this is part B, so I'm not going to go on this one. We're going to finish this off right here, and you're going to be all happy because this video is only 8 minutes long. I should probably like tell a joke or something if I could think of a joke. I don't know. Anyway, you are done with me. I want you to go over to McGraw-Hill, and I want you to complete the 4-5 practice A. Okay? Have a good one.